Ethan always swore he'd never work for a man like Ryan Hale, too rich, too confident, and too impossibly charming for his own good. Yet there he was on a Tuesday morning, with a suitcase in one hand and a toddler clinging to his other, standing on the polished wooden porch of Ryan's sprawling white farmhouse in Virginia. The irony was almost painful. A broke, small-town guy who barely believed in love, taking a job that would put him under the same roof as a man who made his pulse skip for all the wrong reasons. Ryan answered the door with that infuriating smile, the kind that seemed carved from sunlight and arrogance. "Welcome, Ethan," he said warmly. Then, without hesitation, he added, "Everyone, meet my mate." Ethan nearly dropped his bag. Mate? He wasn't even sure if Ryan was joking or cruel. In a small town like this, words carried weight, and being called someone's mate in front of a housekeeper, the gardener, and a woman in a crisp business suit was, well, humiliating. Or it should have been. The problem was, part of him didn't hate it. Ryan Hale was an alpha in every unspoken sense of the word, head of his family's successful vineyard. A man who knew exactly how to take charge without raising his voice. Ethan had only heard whispers about him in town, most of them involving broken hearts and dangerous smiles. But he hadn't come here for Ryan. He came for Lily, Ryan's 4-year-old daughter, sweet and shy, who had just lost her mother. Ethan knew what that kind of grief felt like, and he'd promised himself he'd help her heal. The first week passed in a blur of bedtime stories, giggles over pancakes, and Lily's small hand slipping into Ethan's as if it belonged there. Ryan was often away for business, but when he was home, Ethan couldn't ignore the way the man's eyes lingered, warm, steady, almost like he was memorizing him. And then there were those little mate comments, dropped casually in conversation, each one making Ethan's chest tighten. Ethan told himself it was just teasing, that Ryan was simply a man who enjoyed making people uncomfortable. But late one night, when the house was quiet and the cicadas hummed outside, Ryan found him on the back porch. "You're good with her?" Ryan said, leaning against the railing, the moonlight catching in his eyes. Ethan shrugged. "She's easy to love." Ryan's gaze softened. "You are too, you know." Ethan's laugh was sharp, defensive. "Don't. I'm here to do a job. Not what?" Ryan's voice was low now, the kind that sank into your bones. "Not let someone care about you." By the second month, Ethan was in trouble. Not just because Ryan's teasing had turned into something quieter, more deliberate, like a slow burn he couldn't put out, but because the vineyard had become a kind of home. And home was dangerous. Home made you stay. Then came the gala. Ryan needed a date for a charity event, and somehow, Ethan ended up in a tailored black suit, walking into a ballroom full of glittering chandeliers and whispers. Ryan's hand stayed on the small of his back the whole night, grounding him, claiming him in a way that felt terrifyingly real. When an older man approached and asked who Ethan was, Ryan didn't miss a beat. "My mate," he said with a smile so sure it silenced the entire conversation. Ethan's heart pounded. He wanted to laugh it off, but the truth was, Ryan's words felt like a promise. A dangerous one, but good things never stayed simple. A storm came in the form of Ryan's ex-fiancée, Olivia, a woman as beautiful as she was calculating. She arrived one morning unannounced, all perfume and sharp smiles, insisting that Ryan's little game had gone on long enough. "You can't be serious about him," she said within Ethan's earshot. "He's temporary, a distraction. You're Ryan Hale." Ryan didn't flinch. "Exactly. And that means I choose who I let into my life." His eyes met Ethan's, steady and unshakable. "And I choose him." But Ethan, burned by past betrayals, couldn't trust it. He packed his things that night, leaving a note for Lily and a silence for Ryan. Weeks passed. Ethan took a job in another town, telling himself it was better this way. But every time he made pancakes, he heard Lily's laugh. Every time the sun dipped behind the hills, he saw Ryan on the porch, waiting. The absence gnawed at him until one rainy evening, there was a knock at his door. Ryan stood there, soaked through, Lily clinging to his side. "She's been asking for you every night," Ryan said, voice raw. "And I've been asking for you every hour." Ethan's throat tightened. Ryan, you're not my mate because I called you that, Ryan interrupted. You're my mate because you are. Stay, please. Ethan looked at Lily, her small face hopeful, and then at Ryan, whose walls had finally, completely fallen away. The truth was, Ethan had been home the moment he stepped onto that porch months ago, so he let them in. That night, as Lily fell asleep between them on the couch, Ryan's hand found Ethan's. No teasing, no audience, no games, just warmth, and a quiet promise that this time, it was forever. And Ethan believed him. The rain didn't let up that night. It drummed softly against the windows as Ethan sat on the couch. Lily curled between him and Ryan like she'd always belonged there. Her tiny breaths came steady, her head nestled against Ethan's arm, the scent of her strawberry shampoo clinging faintly in the air. Ryan's gaze was on him, not the casual, teasing glance Ethan had grown used to, but something steady and unguarded. It was the look of a man who had finally stopped running from what he wanted. You don't have to answer me tonight, Ryan said quietly, his thumb brushing over the back of Ethan's hand. But I'm done pretending, done letting you walk away without a fight. Ethan's heart thudded painfully. And if I get scared again? Then I'll remind you every day that you have nothing to be afraid of here, Ryan replied without hesitation. We'll fight the fear together. Just don't fight me. It was so simple, and yet it cut through all the walls Ethan had built. He thought of the months he'd spent convincing himself that he didn't belong, that happiness wasn't something he was allowed to hold. But here, with Ryan's hand warm over his, Lily's small body safe between them, and the storm raging harmlessly outside, Ethan realized he'd been wrong. He already belonged. Ethan exhaled, long and slow, and let his fingers intertwine with Ryan's. Okay, he whispered. I'll stay. Ryan's lips curved not into the cocky smile Ethan first met, but into something softer, almost reverent. He leaned in, pressing a kiss to Ethan's temple, lingering there like a vow. And for the first time in years, Ethan didn't feel like he was standing on the edge of something dangerous. He felt like he was home. The rain outside kept falling, but inside, there was only warmth, and the quiet certainty that this strange, unexpected little family was forever. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.